afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this week's episode of Primetime Gaming with Mr. BoomStick and Friends. And of course, I'm your host, Mr. BoomStick XL, and we have an absolutely outstanding show for you. Get ready, 90-ish minutes. We're going to get into why 46% of PlayStation gamers polled, and as an asterisk here, folks, would consider getting Xbox Game Pass if Activision content was added. And well, we know Call of Duty Black Ops 6 is on the way. Plus, where is all of this Xbox Activision content? Is that something that they're going to announce at Gamescom? I don't know, but the second half of the show is going to be exactly that conversation, what to expect at Gamescom. And as we inch closer to August, we're hearing some things that Xbox is bringing some big-time titles in tow, and it is going to be a freaking party. I'm excited. I know everyone here is excited. Welcome to the near 200 people we already have here, and we just started, so a big thank you for that. Kay Asante, welcome back, brother. You had to take some time off. You weren't feeling well. You're back, it seems. How you doing?
I'm not doing bad, man. I'm all right. I'm still on the mend. I'm about 70%, 75, I'd say, but I'm good. I'm happy to be here. You know, it's this show has been my respite for a busy week all the time. I'm happy to be back into the swing of things. You know what I mean?
Well, we're glad to have you back. Two pointed conversations to get into. And again, there is an asterisk. I'll explain where this 46% polled PlayStation gamers came from. And you're gonna raise an eyebrow a little bit, but it's worth a conversation because, well, the numbers don't lie. Hargeet, how you feeling, brother? Welcome back.
Yeah, another week, another fun little thing. You know, there's always something going on, right? But this one's a good one. This is an old one because this came out, I believe, during the trial with the
Indeed,
CMA.
and that's right? The asterisk, ladies and gentlemen, because look. There's been a lot of new news. Talked about it a couple of times during the course of the few shows that we've had this week on Monday and Tuesday. The Xbox Games Showcase is still being talked about, and we're this Sunday will make 3 weeks from the show. That should speak volumes for you as an Xbox fan, but I think it actually speaks volume not only for gamers who don't have an attachment to the Xbox platform, but even the gaming media seems to have taken their foot off the gas when it comes to negativity because, well, there really isn't that much negative news. Now, if you look at the playing field ahead, right? The Xbox Game Showcase has come and it's gone. It was actually one of the highest rated shows of the summer. And now, mind you, we still have Gamescom, we still have Tokyo Game Show, and of course, tip of the spear, depending on, obviously your mileage may vary, the Game Awards, which last year, Xbox basically took over. So we know that Nintendo kind of just, let it all hang out. We know what they have releasing for the remainder of 2024, and some games coming in 2025 where we're expected to Switch 2 or the Switch XL or whatever you want to call it is going to be releasing.
The Super Switch.
The Super Switch. Yes.
Super Nintendo Switch.
Say that. The Super Switch. I kind of like that, to be honest with you. I'm old, so maybe that's why I like it. But what we do know, folks, is Sony is just, well, they don't have a lot going on. Now, again, they do have some games coming out. They have Lego Horizon, which I don't think that their fan base is going to buy. I think it's going to sell minuscule. I think it's actually going to sell better on Switch, which is probably why they are releasing it there. And of course, Astrobot, again, I'm excited for it, but a lot of people are not going to pay it any attention. We still don't know if there is going to be the secret show in September, where we still don't know, again, a lot of unknowns for PlayStation, whether or not there's actually going to be a PlayStation 5 Pro. Is there? Isn't there? And I guess you could flip a coin and we can, do best out of 10 and that's the winner. We don't really have any direction because Sony isn't talking. If they do release a PlayStation 5 Pro, what are they going to have for it? Astrobot, Horizon, maybe some older games. That's just not going to cut the mustard. But, hey, I want to go to you first on this. So this article is old. In fact, it's 2 years old. And it was written by, quite a few websites. The one that I decided to go with is one of my personal favorites. That is, of course, videogameschronicle.com. This was written by Tom Ivan. He is a journalist that I happen to really like. I like a lot of work that Tom does. And, the title for the article is 46% of U.S. PlayStation and Nintendo players would consider Xbox Game Pass if it adds Activision titles. Now, is this some sort of, stake in the ground? The industry is changing because of Xbox Game Pass and Call of Duty getting in there? Well, not necessarily. I don't think people on either platforms are racing to their local game or their local GameStop to trade in their consoles to get an Xbox. I do see a world, Kay, where there's an opportunity for Xbox during the holidays to politely price the Series S and the Series X to one of those prices where it's almost an impulse buy, if you will, especially the Series S. If the Series S somehow releases at $200, because last year I found it as low as $231 new. So dropping down $31 a year later doesn't seem too far of a stretch. Now, this again, it's 46%, but what is it the 46% of? Well, they did according to the article, that's according to research at YouGov that polled 1,200 U.S. adults. Now, that's not a big number. If it would have been 12,000 or 120,000, this would have been more of a stake in the ground. But the reason why I wanted to bring this up, ladies and gentlemen, is because of what we saw a couple of Sundays ago. And even before that Call of Duty Direct, we had learned that Call of Duty Black Ops 6 was going to be in Xbox Game Pass day and date. Now, we get past the PlayStation, the Xbox game showcase. It was what it was. PlayStation had their state of play, more so like a state of disappointment, to be honest with you. Nintendo showed for me. I'm a Nintendo fan, so that was definitely an 8.5 out of 10 for me. But it certainly wasn't better than the Xbox showcase. And then the game, the Summer Games Fest, it was okay. It wasn't terrible. It wasn't great. It was lukewarm, to be honest. But this is a number, K, that I think has, if that poll were to be taken place today, right today would be June 26th, 2024. I think that if they polled, let's say 50,000 people, you would have a very large amount of people that are going to potentially, again, they're not burning their PS5s or their Switches. They're not hitting them with hammers on camera. They're not taking them to their local trade-in shop. I think there is a world where a politely priced Series S for casuals will get them in the door. And again, if you include a 30-day card, a 60-day card for Game Pass, they are essentially getting a pack-in with Call of Duty Black Ops 6 along with hundreds of other games. I think that if that poll happens today, we're seeing record-breaking numbers because, look, I don't care whether you're an Xbox guy or gal or it's not your flavor. It's hard to argue the value proposition that you're getting. And right now, Call of Duty is in everyone's face. If you're here in New York, it's on every billboard, whether it be just standard fare or the electronic one. It's in Times Square. It's consistently there each and every day. And of course, they just dropped the skins for the crossover with Fallout, which we're going to cover tomorrow on the on the Xbox show with C Money. Let's talk about this, Kay. Is there some room for potential pour over, if you will?
So I will say, when this whole thing first started, and yes, this story has been out for a little while.
Yeah.
I actually found the YouGov site where it's pretty extensive, all the research and development that they did on here. They pulled a lot of people, both the UK side and the American side, and they extrapolate some data, and it's not just Call of Duty, it's also all the various ABK franchises, because this was during the trial, right? So they wanted to get a full understanding of what it all meant to people. And while it was, I wouldn't call it hot button, while it was illuminating at the time, I wasn't necessarily convinced at that time when this news first came out. But of course, since then, a lot has happened, right? A lot has happened, right? They got ABK. There's all this news and speculation. Ooh, they're going third party. Oh, all this stuff is happening, right? During the time when folks were all but convinced that Call of Duty wasn't coming to Game Pass, let's just say I had some conversations with some trusted friends. And man, oh man, that wasn't an education for me, right? For me, y'all have heard me say it before on many occasions. I play my games wherever I can find them. It's fine. You're not putting it here. You put it there. I'll play it there. If you restrict me from putting it there, maybe I find some other ways of putting it where I want, because screw you, I do what I do. It's fine, right? So when you market to me where I should or shouldn't play, I just look at you and go, yeah, sure, whatever, and I keep it moving. What I found out during that time, when it was assumed by the community that Call of Duty was, some of us were advocating that, hey man, it's a very big, expensive game. You don't want to bring that to the service, because that means it'll have a lot of answers that has to happen before it becomes a successful franchise. There's going to be a lot of a bigger hill to climb. We were with a lot of logical justifications, right? I had some of that. I'm pretty sure I heard Hargeet have some of that. We all had some logical justifications to say, look, we don't know if it's coming or not, but if it's not, these are the logistical reasons why it would make sense, right? Oh boy, did I see otherwise reasoned individuals lose the thread.
Now,
oh boy.
Can you, again, sources must stay quiet.
Sure,
no one needs to know who they are. But when you say you were educated, you told me, I know what
I
you're
was
talking
educated.
About.
I was educated.
Yes.
Look, some people say that my podcast is hilariously long. You know what I mean? Sometimes we have 4-hour podcasts. Yes. We challenge the Iron Lords podcast, but only in length. Yes, I understand that. Some of the not for display, not for streaming podcasts I had during that week lasted like 10 hours, bro. Like just going back and forth, debating the reason why it should, and hearing everyone just lose their ever-loving minds about, you cowards, you need to put it there. You promised. Now, of course, when we then advocate to say, look, man, if they don't put it there, what you should do is vote with your wallet. Don't buy the game at all. Don't do it. Show them you mean business. You know what you hear? Well, I ain't going to do that. This is Call of Duty we're talking about. So this taught me something. It taught me a lot. It really gave me a very big lesson. All the men and women with the pitchforks out there standing firm. As soon as we go, hey man, that means you should vote with your wallet, right? Show them you mean business. They go, are you kidding? This is Call of Duty we're talking about. It happened over and over again, to the point where I just kind of learned that this franchise is really like beyond. It is too big to fail at this point. People love it with their whole hearts. So my initial skepticism about how it would move the mountains or how it would move people, I got to tell you, sitting where I sit right now, I mean, 46% is kind of like a shot in the dark, but it's going to be a big number. I am now pretty convinced that, like you're saying, people aren't going to throw their PS5s in the bushes. People aren't going to, oh yeah, I am now full Xbox. But we know that if you're hardcore, if you're any level of core, you have at least 2 devices. Even the diehard Xbox players have a PlayStation that's collecting dust, or a Nintendo Switch that they give to the kids and steal from them every time Breath of the Wild comes out or something like that. Everyone has multiple devices. This move, when it happens, and now it's not even an if it happens, right? When it happens, it will move people to add +1s to their inventory. You will get a Series S. You will get Game Pass. Even if it's that PC that you don't usually game on, you will get it because you want to buy it. I am now pretty convinced. I mean, it's not going to turn Xbox overnight to number one. I don't think so. But the Game Pass number will swell. That I am almost assured of. Seriously. Because man, oh man, I'm telling you, it was such an I've had some very interesting educational podcasts. I call them podcasts because, man, we should be recording it, except for the fact that people say things they really shouldn't say. And people swear a lot. But I have had educations, you know, when people, when they all found out that it was all, oh, everything's going third party. I was like, yeah, that's unfortunate, but I play my games everywhere anyway. I don't care. And it took me like 2 weeks of being educated to understand that I am a minority within a minority within a minority. Oh boy, people were losing the thread, right? Even our fair old Boomstick, who is above it all, who is far removed from the ridiculousness, he has told me a time or two, and he's here, he can tell me I'm wrong. If he ever sees Master Chief shining bright on Team Blue, he will shed somewhat of a tear. It'll be a little messed up. You know what I mean? Like,
I'm always out there. That's just the problem. I you know, I'm not conditioned. It's just that, you know, I won't bend the knee for certain things.
So that's the thing, right? And so initially, when this news in early 2000, I think 2002, when all this announced, I was like, yeah, that's an interesting number. But now I'm pretty convinced that number is probably conservative, because look what Microsoft did. Through hook or crook. Oh, you want it everywhere? Sure, it's everywhere. Oh, you want us to lose the streaming rights? Sure, we've lost the streaming rights. Oh, you want us to have deals where it goes on every platform? Sure, it will. Except it'll also come with Game Pass. I am sure that their numbers are so clear that they know that this will move units.
Yeah.
Right. Even in my small perch on the internet, where I started having conversations with otherwise like-minded individuals, right? Educated me. It really did. So, like, I heard, and I'm sure Hargeet will expound on it again. I've heard him say before that it doesn't matter if it's exclusive, as long as as long as the marketing is tied to them, as long as they have something that nobody else has, which is Game Pass. Now, I've heard him say this, and yes, historically that has been the case, right? But I'm like, yeah, okay, we shall see. And I'm still of the we shall see camp. But I do believe that those numbers, there will be pre-launch on Game Pass numbers, and then there will be post-launch on Game Pass numbers. The question is, how high is that hockey stick going to travel? Because it's going to be big. I'm convinced of it. Yes.
Well, one thing that, I mean, there are a couple of key points here that are non-Call of Duty conversations that I want to quickly just throw out there for the 500 plus people. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much. Before I hand the mic over to Hargeet, when Starfield released, it had one of the biggest day one Game Pass number of new subscribers in the history of the service since its inception in 2017, summer of 2017. Right, that was a fact. A couple of weeks ago, and I never got around to this story. I'm kind of aggravated that I missed out on it. There was just so much news, it got eaten up by all the other news. Diablo 4 is now one of the biggest launches on Xbox Game Pass. All right, so it had Starfield exclusive, right? Banger. I don't care what anyone when anyone from IGN or otherwise says. Then you have another big announcement where, and again, this is apparently even eclipsing what happened with Starfield. Diablo 4, the biggest launch on Xbox Game Pass to date. That's a really big deal. Well, that's going to be destroyed, shattered, and then disintegrated when Call of Duty Black Ops 6 gets in there. This is one of those situations. Now, Hargeet, I just want to reiterate some of the things that you had concerns for going into this showcase. You were afraid that, well, Xbox was going to Xbox, right? And they weren't going to do their due diligence for letting you know that A, Xbox owns Call of Duty, and that B, it's going to be in Game Pass. Well, I think they have answered all that criticism. They have really taken the task of running the gambit. Now, granted, this is the Activision marketing team. They're used to this. This is what they do. This is why they have been so successful with Call of Duties almost every year. I don't think there's been a year outside of last year that Call of Duty wasn't the best selling. Now, granted, it was the best selling in the month it released, but overall, Hogwarts took that crown last year, and that's a rarity. It's very rare that Call of Duty, even in a 2-month block, November and December, is not the best selling. It's just sells ridiculous. But again, Hargeet, this is an old story. It's 2 years old. 1,200 people from each country were polled. Again, I looked at the stats. I looked at some of the paperwork that Kayasante. It is extremely detailed. Too much to get into, to be honest with you. But where do you kind of sit now? Now we are post Xbox Game Showcase. We know that this particular Call of Duty is coming the way of Treyarch, right? They are and have become the beloved developer, where it used to be Infinity Ward, and they have taken that crown from them. This is one of the longest in development Call of Duties it might be in history. It's going to have 4-year dev cycle. This is going to be big. And again, it's in Xbox Game Pass. Do you see this 46% ballooning for Call of Duty and Xbox Game Pass? And I believe it's coming out in October. What do you think?
Yeah, so one of the things I did find out is that they can't actually, and I don't know what is it, organizational, regulatory, contractual, they can't actually mention Game Pass when Activision is marketing Call of Duty. So the majority of the marketing, you will not see it. In the Xbox marketing, you will see Game Pass. That's a little disappointing to me. I would rather, like, there was their reveal trailer was like 50+ million views. That one does not have Game Pass, which is very disappointing to me. But I get it. There's some specific reason. I mean, I specifically asked, hey, why not? Right. And there is a reason. They're just not allowed to do it. And, they would love to.
Now, is that forever, or is that just this year?
No, I think it's for the I think it's for the length of that regulatory. Exactly.
It could be exactly. It could be a regulatory thing. It could be a contractual thing, or it could be a Satya says don't do this thing. It could be any one of those. I don't know which one it is, right? But they aren't allowed to. The marketing team is not allowed to do that. So, that's kind of disappointing. It is what it is, right? I didn't want to delve into it too far because, like, how much can you really ask, right? So, but unfortunately, they can't do that. However, word is getting out there, and it's most likely. So, there's two things that are going to happen, right? There are people who were not Call of Duty players that are suddenly just going to have it. And they're going to like, this is supposed to be that big game that everybody talks about, right? Why don't I give it a chance? Right? And what the heck? Maybe they'll play the campaign. They'll like part of the campaign or not like it, right? Maybe it's just not their thing. And they're like, yeah, yep, I was right. I don't like it. Or maybe they do like it and they actually start playing it, right? And I think there's going to be a chunk of players that, oddly enough, that even Call of Duty didn't have, that suddenly might try Call of Duty, right? How big is that number going to be? I don't think it's going to be like 30 million, but it could be a couple million. You never know, right? So there's that. And then there are people who will say, hey, wait a minute. So now I can just get this and I have all this stuff and all these other games and I like that. And I don't know how big of a market that is. And that's the market they're looking for as far as subscribing to Game Pass, right? So what does that look like? I don't know, right? We have these, surveys, which I don't know how realistic it is to take that kind of survey and assume it's real.
Well, no, I mean, again,
It's
it's just really for context. We're not using it
right.
as the de facto, if you will.
Exactly. So you can kind of gauge, okay, like in the US, it had higher numbers. The UK had a small, but still significant, like 30% said, hey, they would go get this, right? And look, I think the combination of Call of Duty being a big vehicle and then that showcase, and you say, well, okay, hold on a second. What am I getting on this other side? Not much. What am I getting from Nintendo? Because by the time this comes out, Nintendo will likely have had their showcase as well. That showcases their new Nintendo, all the games that they're going to be having, right? So then you got to play out the thing and say Nintendo or Xbox or stay on PlayStation or upgrade to the PS5 because that's still a big thing, right? And you have to, as a gamer, figure out what kind of games you would want to play. But where it's interesting is unless PlayStation comes out with something stellar to show you, that may not be the platform choice because you have to have something compelling to show. The other two have compelling stuff to show. I think this is going to move the needle for a bunch of gamers. There's also a perception of sort of mature gamers saying, I don't like Nintendo because they're kiddie games. And so they might just stay away from that platform. There's a lot of others who say, yeah, it's a family-friendly device, but like Kay Asante was saying, I can steal it every now and then and play my games. And if they're going to have GTA and Call of Duty and whatever else I want to play on there too, yikes, that's a pretty good console. If it's, $400, hey, I can play everything here, and I can convince the wife that this is for the kids, and I can also just go play. Yeah, why not, right? So that is gonna happen, right? I know there's women out there who play. I'm not trying to, but that is a lot of the stupidity of this, right? Is convince the spouse that I'm buying this for the kids, but I'll be playing too, right? So, but that happens, right? So that might be a push from the Nintendo side. The Xbox side, it just has a value. There's just a like you look at Game Pass and say, wait, I get to play all that, really? And I'm paying that, really? That's it? Okay, right? So I do think it's gonna increase the numbers. Don't think it's gonna go to 100 million or something, but I think it's gonna increase the numbers because you're looking for that market where people want to play other games and also want to play Call of Duty, right? And that market is. It's not everybody, but there is a market there, and it's a potential that Xbox can convert people over. I was surprised by the numbers, by the way, when the CMA thing came out, the 46% and the 29%, and I'm like, oh, that's pretty high. So that's people who want to convert over from PlayStation to Xbox, and they would go to Game Pass. Wow, that's a pretty significant amount. Again, it's a random poll on a YouGov thing, right? So don't take it as sacrosanct.
Again, context only, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah.
It's an indication. Yeah, exactly. It's an indication, right? That obviously people cared enough to actually go there and do that, right? So, even if it's half that, that's a significant chunk. If they got 10, 12% market share differential, that's a huge deal, right? So, if that happens, that's pretty cool. It's an interesting start for Xbox to start looking at their platform as a more significant competitor, which hopefully happens, right? And I think the games also just talk. If they have 2, 3, 4 continuous, consecutive, really good June showcases, how do you say no to that platform, right? And that's where it starts to become very competitive and compelling. And so then people have to make up their mind. If, by 2026, they really are going to release their next gen, and that, you have had 2, 3 really good showcases, like, okay, well, gee, do I want to go buy that device? Yeah. And maybe I do subscribe to Game Pass, right? Maybe Game Pass extends itself to other platforms. We'll see what happens in that, right? So, I don't know. We'll push forward, but I think Game Pass does have potential to increase beyond where it is today, right? It's already still growing on PC, right? And hopefully this expands console as well. But let's not discount PC still is a thing. And this is an option for them as well, right? So Game Pass on PC will also have Call of Duty, which will be pretty cool, right? Yeah. So if you wanted to try it, spend the $10 and you can suddenly try any Call of Duty. And this is another one: is when do we get the old games, right?
That's actually going to be the next run into, because. But yeah. So You know, you said something interesting, Hargeet, and I want to kind of expand on that. You said back-to-back showcases. So I want to take a step back from this particular showcase, ladies and gentlemen, and I want to look at the Summer Showcase of 23 because I'm going to be honest with you. That showcase kicked ass. Was it as good as this? No.
Nope.
But was it good? Yeah, man. It was damn good. And you know, it's funny. It almost seems that because of what happened with Redfall launching the way it did, that somehow 2023 wasn't a banger of a year for Xbox. And it was. Hi-Fi Rush, listen, we understand what happened on the back end, but if we're talking about the game itself, that game's a 9 out of 10. For me, it's easily a 10 out of 10. One of the best launched games with no bugs I've ever played, right? You get Motorsport. Motorsport, yeah, it was missing some tracks, missing some cars, but it ran great, looked great, played great. It's a banger. And then Starfield comes out, and regardless of what the haters tried to do to that game, it still has over 14 million players. It has now mod support. It's the game that just keeps giving. So 2023, I think if we're talking about putting a string of years together to get people interested in the brand, I think we could start there. And then obviously this year happens. Now, what's interesting about this particular poll, Hargeet, is that this is 2 years ago. And I think honestly, if I'm going to put on the adult pants and we're going to be the adults in the room for this particular conversation, the world has not gotten any better when it comes to the how much money's in your pocket versus how much money you're spending on, I don't know, groceries or gas or mortgage or your power. And I say all of that to say that is a part of the conversation, whether it has to do with gaming or it doesn't. I hear you if you don't want to have that conversation, but it is something to contend with when you consider that Nintendo games never go on sale. Sony does not put their first-party games that are new into their service. Hell, they don't even keep games like Spider-Man 2018. That was taken out, right? Which is just egregious to sell you a combination package for Spider-Man 2 last year. That's disgusting. But they did it, and no one said anything. And we are in an era right now in the world where Xbox just had a showcase that showed off 17 first-party games all going into Xbox Game Pass between now and next year. Just ridiculous, to be honest with you. At what point, because I look, Hargeet and Kay, I think that a lot of us, and I don't necessarily mean us on the panel, I think a lot of the community really do take the casuals or the normies and discount them as just lemmings or drones, where they don't pay attention to what's going on. To some extent, they don't pay attention like we do. We have 625 people here. It's unlikely you're a casual. You are a diehard gamer, regardless of what platform you consider to be number one. That's irrelevant. You are a diehard gamer. You care about what's going on in the industry because you are a diehard gamer. But that still does not and should not discount someone that only buys 3 games a year. Yes, they're not a diehard gamer, but they still play games, whether it be on their phone, when they're not on their console, or when they're playing Call of Duty with their friends from work or whatever. But I think we're going to get into we are going to potentially inch closer to value proposition. I think it's going to be really hard to deny. And look, Hargeet and Kay, why do you think that guy that came from Netflix that was rehired by Xbox is no longer here? I don't remember his name. He's now at Roblox. Not because the guy
West, was it?
Yeah.
Jared West or something?
Jared West. Yes,
Jared
it was
West,
Jared
yeah.
West.
Jared
Yeah. Now
West,
Jared
yeah.
West, if you didn't know, was an integral part in the 360 era, and they kicked ass in the 360 era. He had some that's why they rehired him a couple of years ago. Didn't work out. They need to do better with getting Game Pass in everyone's face. You got to know what's in here. Really long-winded or not, do you think that the value proposition, and I'm going to come back to you in a second, Kayasante, Hargeet, is actually going to be a factor as we inch closer to some of these releases, potentially the end of the year?
Yeah, so you want me to say it? Or
Yeah.
Yeah. So, look, add on top of that the Game Awards, right, and the Dev Directs. They've had killer shows for 2 years now. So the shows are kind of there, and I think the games need to get delivered. Yes, we had Starfield. Yes, we had Motorsport. I think once these games come out, it just keeps rolling. We had Hi-Fi, right? We keep rolling into this. As that catalog becomes more and more prominent, right? As we get like 7, 8, 10 really good games that are really only here, it starts to push that, hey, wait a minute, why am I not on that side? Even if some of these, by the way, come over to the other platforms, one of the questions becomes, hey, if I'm on PlayStation and all I play are Xbox games, why the heck am I paying $70 for these games when I could just go there and pay for Game Pass and I'm getting the same games?
Yeah.
What's the value for me as a customer? What have I gained? Am I playing anything PlayStation? That becomes a big question mark at that point. And as a consumer, you'd have to make that determination. Is there enough value for me being on that platform if the majority of the games I keep buying are all Xbox games? So there is a sort of interesting viewpoint when you put those games over there to see, will people actually say, wait a minute, why am I paying $70 every time? So I'm buying 4 games, and I could have bought Game Pass for that, for like half of that, and I would have all of them. Why am I paying like this over here, and then I still have to pay for their online service, and over there it's included? Why am I doing this, right? And so we'll see if that pans out, right? We'll see what they do with that. But even if you don't, you just say, hey, we have indie here, we have OD, Blade, and I'm trying to look at games that are kind of zeitgeisty, right? That are going to kind of move the narrative. Not your, Call of Duty's Call of Duty. It's always going to move the narrative. It is what it is, right? But you're not going to, say, a smaller title, say South of Midnight. It could be a hit thing that like Hi-Fi Rush, right? Or it could just be a small little thing that's really cool, but it's not going to move consoles. But you could see something like indie do that, right? Because it's a big IP, a known IP, right? You could say, hey, we got a Kojima game coming that's the spiritual successor to Silent Hill. The remake looks like garbage. This looks like it could be cool. What if it turns out to be pretty good? That could be another zeitgeisty moment, right? Because you got a Kojima OD coming over on Xbox, right? You have Blade, right? It's a known IP. The amount of excitement when people got that announcement, right? It was pretty big, right? Gears, the moment of the showcases, Gears. How much excitement can that drive if that comes out, right? So I think those are the kind of things. Once you start having those moments, it's like, all right, it's going to push people to say, well, I just want to have fun. And that's where the fun is. So I'm going to go over there, right? Because people just want to enjoy themselves. That's the whole point of this, right? So if the fun factor was, hey, Spider-Man came out, that looks cool, I want to be on PlayStation. Oh, hey, look, this God of War game looks cool, I want to be on PlayStation. But what if that reverses? And that's kind of the trend now. Because look, those sequels came out. They didn't exactly make things that much better for those those series. God of War Ragnarok was mostly good, but some people thought it was a little boring to begin with, and then it kind of picked up, right? And so that kind of teetered a bit. Still, I think that one's a pretty good one. Horizon, we've had very mixed reviews of that, right? Some people hated it, some people loved it. The second, the Horizon.
The first one was great. I disliked the second one terribly, but
right,
Kate loved it.
Exactly, yeah. Right. Yet I hear from some others are like, "Oh, it's awesome." It's hit or miss. It didn't really help.
I have
that
219
series.
hours in that game, and that's
only
on console. On
See
PC,
what I mean? Exactly.
I have another couple hundred hours.
It's a hit or miss, right? Spider-Man 2. Again, I've heard both sides of it. Some people loved it. Some people were like, this is just more of the same.
I
I'm kinda
enjoyed it,
bored
but
after
I'm an
Miles
Insomniac
Morales.
stan, so that's where I
Right.
stand on it.
Exactly, right, but this is the thing, right? Whereas when we had that, like, God of War announced at the same time as Spider-Man, and you had gameplay reveal of Horizon, like, that was killer stuff, right? Like, I gotta play these, right? That's the thing, right? So now we have that kind of shifting the other way, where you have this June showcase. It was a killer showcase, but that's just gonna keep happening because they have so many studios putting out so many games, and they have so much to showcase that it is going to be like this ongoing. So, like you said, yes, last year's showcase was really good. It was a really good showcase, probably one of the best ones of that June showcase period. And then this one was just out of the world great. And next will probably be in that range, a
Yeah.
B to A, right? And you've got they've got a lot more to show us. So it keeps going. And I think once that like, hey, these games have come out now. You played Indie. That was pretty good. Okay, you played Fable. That was pretty good. Doom comes out. It's et cetera, et cetera. You just keep getting them. And then it starts to, that catalog builds up. They're like, why am I on this platform when I could play all those games? And again, I'll keep pointing out Nintendo's coming. Nintendo's coming,
Yes.
and like that's gonna be the other thing that's gonna hit PlayStation is if you don't have anything to showcase, and Nintendo's like, here's the 15 games we're releasing in the next 6 months, and yeah, you're gonna want to play most of these. And then you got Xbox saying, well, we got 15 to 20 every year. There you go. Right? What are you gonna do to that? You can't really deny the power of their IPs. That's what's happening. And by the way, I don't think they're done. I think Xbox is going to be buying somebody else. And when
Yes.
they do,
That's
that comes to Game Pass.
yeah. I mean,
So you have so much potential there, right? So yes, I think the mindset will start to shift, right? So so I don't know if that kind of answered what you're looking for, but I think this is going to be the direction, like the number of games that are cool that come out that people can play that create the buzz, right? The people talking about
zeitgeist.
it.
Gaming
That's what's
zeitgeist.
it's a
Yes.
zeitgeist, right? It's like, oh, that was a passe game. Nobody talked about it. No. People are talking about this. People are excited about it. You have 4 of them, 5 of them, 10 of them, and you're like, okay, look, I can't ignore the platform. I have to go there. I have to play those games. Like, if you're a gamer, you're not going to want to resist that, right? That doesn't mean you're buying an Xbox because again, they're happy with you being on PC. They're happy with you playing on cloud. No problem. Just get Game Pass. They're happy, right? Either way, go ahead. You can enjoy the games, right? So that I think is going to happen. Hopefully, this means that Game Pass kind of increases, which just makes it more sustainable, right? So that'd be awesome as well. We'll see how things go. But right now, it's pretty exciting, and so those numbers are pretty good.
Interesting. Yeah, definitely interesting. It's funny. I'm looking at the gameplay case, Ante, and I noticed that Josette is in my party, which of course is my wife. And when she cuts her hair short like that, that's exactly what she looks like. It's hilarious. So I happened to say something to her when I first started playing, and she's like, "Where? You didn't tell me you were doing that. I should get paid for this."
Damn right.
And she's not wrong.
Absolutely, she should.
It's funny because my brother Dan had her in his party as well, and that's just hilarious. And she's always a magic user when she plays something like Baldur's Gate and stuff, which is great. Look, Kay, I want to come at this a little different with you. Now, I want to bring this back to the transition from the PS3 to the PS4, the Xbox 360 to the Xbox One. Xbox stepped in it, right? They lost a lot of Xbox gamers to PlayStation for price, for including a camera in the box. There were a lot of reasons why it didn't work out for Xbox to retain their dominance and their install base for the Xbox 360. So why am I going all the way that far back? Because we are rolling into an era where OG Xbox games are now coming back in a big way. And every one of these Fables and Gears and Perfect Dark and the next Halo and the next Forza, all in Game Pass. Now, we don't have a new announcement for Halo. We would imagine that at some time next year, we're going to get an announcement for both Halo and Forza, right? It's safe to pretty much assume that is going to happen at next year's show. we don't know if it's coming out next year. Those might actually launch with the new console in 2026, and that would be sick if you got the Trinity, Gears, Halo, and Forza to open up the 2026 campaign with the new Xbox. That would be ridiculous. But why I came at it from that angle is we are in a entertainment era where streaming services and value proposition are in everyone's top point of their conversation. Why should I subscribe to Netflix? What does it have for me? Well, for me and Mrs. Boom, I know it's going to sound ridiculous, but we love K-dramas. We watch them all the time. We watch a ridiculous amount of them. And yes, subtitles. We don't like dub. The English dub is terrible. But with that said, we understand what we're paying for. Even the casuals understand what they're paying for these days. They're not just blind lemmings. But I think there's something to be said about those gamers as well as current PlayStation gamers that are going to have that rekindled feeling when they see Fable and Halo and Gears and Perfect Dark and, of course, the next Forza. These are all games that were on the Xbox 360. They're coming back in a big way. I think there's going to be a turning of the tide, so to speak. What are your thoughts?
To me, and you've heard me say this before, the devil will always be in the details. You know,
Indeed.
Like you spin a good tale, and if they are able to execute half as well as you're saying now, it's over, right? What's old is new. You had me squealing like a little child when Jet Set Radio was being remade, and some of the stuff is leaked out there. You know, like what's old is new, right? You saw people crying grown man tears when E-Day was announced. If you haven't seen that video, do yourself a favor, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen. After this show, go seek it out. Reactions for E-Day. I guarantee your eye will not be dry after watching that. People have this huge nostalgic feeling for what's old is new, right? And it looks like Microsoft is well in that camp. They've struck the iron well. It'll be how they execute. It'll be the devil in the details. Will it launch together? Will it launch properly? Will there be delays? You know, there's a lot of content coming, right? So there could be potential delay here or there. You never know, right? And that's not to say that you pick up the pitchforks because they delay the game, but you know, ideally they all launch like Hi-Fi Rush did, which is in perfect condition. And if that happens, oh boy, you know, this will move the needle. I really believe that it will move the needle. At the end of the day, they have prepared so well for this moment, and that's actually another reason why I advocate for during that time when people were like, "Why is Microsoft not speaking?" Oh, like there's all these rumors and speculation. Because let's be honest, ladies and gentlemen, look into a mirror, look in your soul. You realize we're all a bunch of man babies. We're all a bunch of man babies that see something shiny and woo, shiny, and they move on, right? We were talking about the death of the franchise, the death of the brand, and then you saw E-Day. Then the COG showed up, and all was forgiven, right? They know what powerful IPs they have. And by the way, we're not talking about a single Activision IP, which they also have access to, right? We're not talking about a single one. You know, it seems like a foregone conclusion that Jet Set, that Guitar Hero and or Rock Band will be coming. It's a foregone conclusion. They may drop that at some point. There is so much in the tank for them that we shall see what they do with it, right? If they're able to execute on even half of that stuff. And oh, by the way, you know, oh, we have this game that has been delayed. Nothing to see here. Here's a new card drop. Oh, we have this game that's not releasing on time. Oh, nothing to see here. Here's another old Activision game. They now have the ability to be super strategic in doing what PlayStation does very well, which is, you know, sleight of the hand, right? You know, what do you call it? Foam Stars isn't doing well. Don't look at that. Look at this thing right here, right? And Xbox never had that capability, and it looks like more and more they definitely have that. So I am uniquely like excited, not even for the games, but to see how these guys execute this thing and pull it off because the wind is at their back. No one can stop them at this point, right? They used to, and I've said this on this show many a times, they used to have adversaries. Now they have partners.
Yes.
Right? That's what they have. They have partners. PlayStation is banking on Xbox's success right now because the more Xbox succeeds, the more they succeed because Call of Duty's everywhere, right? They see that, right? I, for one, think that this whole thing about, and I know you guys have been slanderous and been laughing about it. This whole thing about Lego, what the hell you call it, Horizon, right? I think that game will do numbers. Maybe not on PlayStation, but we've already seen that PlayStation doesn't need to do numbers in order for something to be successful, right? Helldivers 2 says hi. Like the least amount of people that played it was on PlayStation. It is now considered one of the most successful games that PlayStation has ever released.
Yes.
Right? So I believe that while all this is happening and you have your Lego Horizon out there and the Super Nintendo Switch, yes, I'm putting my stake on the ground right now. If it's called that,
love it.
TM.
I actually like that.
The Super Nintendo Switch, look at that. It just rolls right off the tongue. If you see it come out on the what is it? SNES S? The Super Nintendo Switch.
Yeah.
Right? If it comes out that way, all of a sudden it will be everywhere. It will blow the hell up. And what will that do? That'll teach them that they too should make sure that their games are everywhere. The walls are breaking down. This is just what's going to happen, folks. Right? And Xbox is kind of leading the charge because they are turning enemies or competitors into partners who are literally banking on their own success. You know, it all comes down to execution. And like speaking with certain folks, we spoke with some folks, myself, Hargeet, when we went to LA, the LA event. They are very confident. They are very happy. They are very confident. You know, they basically, after the show, like we came back, we were all buzzing. We're talking to a few folks, Aaron Greenberg and the like, and we were like, yo, this was the most amazing show. And their words on the matter was, wait until the next one. And they had smiles on their faces, right?
Yep.
Like they are really out there. They're doing it. So I'm excited. I want to see them reach their final form.
I mean, you know, that's interesting because I was in the same room that you were in, and specifically Aaron Greenberg, when asked about, again, we're not getting into any details.
There's no tea spilled. There's no need to spill tea. They're too media trained for that.
Yeah, right. Well, when specifically talking about Gamescom, which we're going to get into right now, he didn't say much, but he smirked, and he had like a big cheese smile. So he knew. Now, why is that important? Well, because Paris Lily has been out here, and you know, Paris deemed this a 9.5 out of 10. And Paris was right. This was a 10 out of 10 show, no doubt about it. And Paris said, look out for Gamescom. Look out for Tokyo Game Show, which tells me that they have more in the tank. And what we did learn after this show is that when this was originally pitched, it was over 3 hours. They had to cut it down and make it 2, right? To include Call of Duty in there. I mean, they have a lot to show. And what's interesting going into Gamescom is Nintendo is not going to be there. They had a great show last week, right? They don't need to be there. They had their show. Not everyone got excited. I got excited because I'm a Nintendo dude. But Sony isn't going to be there. 5th year in a row. And why this is even more bonkers, Hargeet Chani, is the cat's out of the bag. What you got is what you got with Sony. That's your PlayStation 2024. Astrobot and Horizon. That's what you got, plus a bunch of these marketed deals. I don't think that's cutting the mustard when you consider what's still coming out this year for Xbox and what they just did in the Xbox showcase. So now, Hargeet, we're rolling into Gamescom, which is going to be big. And we know it's going to be big because we keep hearing things, right? No specifics as of yet. But, you know, in just the last couple of days, InXile dropped 2 videos on Twitter about Clockwork Revolution and what they need to do to market it. suspiciously enough, that, well, I don't know. Is there a show? Yeah, Gamescom is happening in a couple of weeks. That game didn't show. One of the games I expected to be there, it wasn't. And well, now here we are. Towerborn is going to be there. That wasn't at that. I expect that to potentially be a shadow drop launch, possibly. That game looks dope. Hargeet, the industry is still reeling from this showcase. And I mean, I'm not just talking about Xbox gamers, I'm talking about all gamers. There are people trying to still hate on the show. There are people trying to say, this has gotten me reinvigorated with Xbox. There are people that never had an Xbox that are now considering getting an Xbox because of the games, because of Xbox Game Pass. And even the naysayers, even some of the most stark naysayers, well, even grinding their teeth, gave this game gave this show an 8, and they had to give it something respectable because they knew that they would have been exposed. Pause. How big? And now, you know what? Let me rephrase the question. I was gonna hand over to you. PlayStation, I'm going to get a lot of nasty messages for this, folks, and bear with me. If you disagree what I'm about to say, message me. We'll have a conversation. PlayStation is on the ropes, whether you want to admit it or not. They had a lackluster 2023 with one first party that was was an exclusive, and Spider-Man 2. They have a bunch of games that are only on PlayStation 5 that did not sell well, according to their publishers, right? Rise of the Ronin, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Stellar Blade only moved 1 million. And I'm not saying like 1 million isn't anything when there's 50 million PS5s in the wild that have been sold. 1 million of a game is not a great number. I'm sorry, it's just not. They have PlayStation on the ropes. Go for the juggler. That's what I would do. I would put, again, who was it that says it all the time? Hashtag boot on next season.
Mr. King David.
Yeah.
Lord
yeah,
King David.
Yeah. Well, he's one of them. There's a lot of people that say that. How big are you expecting Xbox to show up at Gamescom? Because listen, they have failed terribly in Europe, right? PlayStation rules the roost. PlayStation is not ruling anything right now. They have an opportunity. Do they seize it?
Well, I mean, this is one of those things with Xbox, right? I hope so. The answer is I hope so. Because it's not like PlayStation's suddenly going to show up and say, oh, we have games. They don't, because they really don't have anything. And let's also be fair that Nintendo came out with a great direct, and they're actually giving you some games that people wanted to play. So that's pretty cool as well, right? So those two platforms are kicking. Not so on the other side. Now, I don't know how much Astro is going to do. It was a free game, and then it was a pack-in game both times, I think, right? It was like the pack-in game for PSVR.
Yep,
and then it was
a game for the PS5. It was a fantastic game.
Yeah, so cool. I don't know what it's going to do on its own. Everybody's calling it everybody who's enthusiastic about that platform is calling it the Mario game. It's like, yeah, a lot of people have said that, but nothing's really ever beaten Mario. And I've played this game, and yeah, it's nice, but it's not Mario. So you can have fun with that, and I don't know how much it's going to sell. You know, I'd be more concerned about, will that studio survive? Right? Will this thing sell more than 5 million copies? Will it sell more than 1 million copies? Will it sell more than 500,000 copies? I don't know. Right? There are other games like this, say Ratchet and Clank. How well did that do? Well, it didn't do that well.
2.3 million, I think the total was on that.
Oh, what's a PC, right? I don't know if it did that well on PS5. And Astro's coming out PS5 only, not coming out to PC. So these are just headaches they run into, right? And we'll see what that does. Returnal never did well either. That was a smaller game, but hey, we'll see how this game does. I don't know if this studio is going to be, making more of them or not. We'll see. All right. But that'd be more of a concern on that side. As far as Gamescom, it doesn't matter what they do because they have so much to tell you. It's always going to be fun, right? Because look, they still have release dates for games. that were showcased in the June showcase. You still have Shadowed Space to tell us when is it going to come out. You still have Avowed to officially give its release date, though we got the leak. You still have Indiana Jones, right? There's probably going to be something with Space Marine 2 because that game is also marketed by Xbox and it's coming out like a week or two later, right? So you've got that. Games we didn't even get updates on: Contraband, Towerborn, right? You've got Replaced, right? These games we didn't get updates on.
Immortals is another one.
33 Immortals, another one. Exactly, right? So you've got those. All these things are happening kind of at the same time. So all that's there. And then they could give us some shock announcement, right? And then they could give us, hey, we're putting these ABK games into Game Pass, right? All sorts of potential there, right? That alone would be enough. That's it. That would be more than enough. Because what is anybody else going to bring that's going to be significant, right? So if that's what they show, right? And I assume this is because I don't know if they're going to have their own showcase or if I think it's ONL, right? It's going to be Keely's show.
Opening night live is the Keely event over there. Yeah.
Right. So it's going to be there. So whatever else you're going to get, that's going to be an Xbox showcase, isn't it? So that'll be yet another Xbox showcase. And then you'll have the one at the end of the year. Well, you have Tokyo Game Show.
Yes.
Let's not discount that one. That will still happen. And it might be that Xbox again is the biggest one out, giving you all the announcements because we still haven't heard about all the Japanese stuff that they're doing. They have games being made exclusively in Japan for Xbox. We still have those announcements to make, and that
you also got the Square
let's bring it.
Announcements, Hargeet, because remember they just the producer of Final Fantasy 16 said that they're going to have an announcement for PC. But they also want to make allow for other players to experience it. Look out for that. I think that's potentially a Tokyo Game Show announcement, which
is what, September, right? That's September. I think.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So again, like there's a much more fun to come over there too. So like all these showcases, they end up being like it's Xbox, right? So unless Nintendo comes in, I think that's gonna be October, my guess. Up through that time frame, through September, it's going to be Xbox kind of consistently keeping all the narratives to themselves.
Back-to-back months, too, because you had June for the showcase. July, it's a little bit of a layoff. August, Gamescom. September, Tokyo Game Show. Xbox.
And then you're going to have a hopefully killer showcase from Nintendo in October. And then we take a little bit of a break with our Thanksgiving Turkey Day here. And then in December, we get the Game Awards. And I'm hoping for more. Like, look, Xbox still, they have a whole bunch of studios. They haven't told us anything about what's going on with those studios that are making new games. There's new stuff for them to announce. And that's a perfect place to announce it. Xbox with blah, elsewhere, or whatever Infinity's working on or whatever, right? There's all sorts of other games we haven't talked about yet. They can bring those there. And they've been doing it, and that's really cool. Last year, it was awesome. This year, I hope there's more of the same, right? Let's bring some more fun. And so this year would end up being the Xbox year. Next year might end up being more of a Nintendo tilt. And then Xbox brings it. And so we'll see what happens, right? Because I think the beginning of the year is when we'll see the new Nintendo. And then, the showcases will start in June. Hopefully Nintendo has more to show, but Xbox will have another killer showcase. It's just the way it is because of the number of games, right? And they're going to have a dev direct at the beginning of the year telling us here's what's coming this year, right? So yeah, it's going to be fun times. So there's also the potential of like we have 3 new consoles coming as far as like just hardware SKUs, right? It's the same, same hardware as far as the performance, but we have a new white 1 terabyte Series S, and then the 2 terabyte Series X, and then the all digital Series X. And then what they do with discounts, we'll see, right? So will they take those and keep them at the high, full cost, or will they even take those and discount them, right? And try to get into those markets. To your point of Europe, do they have a lot of opportunity both with Tokyo Game Show and Gamescom to say, hey, we're here. Yep. We got games. Do you want to play games? And oh, by the way, we have this nice subscription service, and we're happy to give it to you on PC if you really don't want to get on the console, or if you want, we've got a console for you, nice and cheap. Here it is, right? And if you want to, get the Xbox All Access program where you don't even have to pay the full amount for the console, you can just pay monthly. no interest, right? Just pay monthly and you get Game Pass with it. That is as well, right? All sorts of options that they could start pushing out there. And the marketing, has been kicking up now, right? Which is really good. So if they can push that, and do it well, that I'm still hearing mixed things about whether it's good enough, but hopefully they're going in the right direction as far as other countries to say, hey, we're here. Let's market enough so that people realize we're here and here are our games, right? You got to market it with the games. And that hopefully will push people to start looking to say, hey, wait, what's this? Oh, that looks interesting. And Hellblade has just come out. We shouldn't forget that that's still there, and it's still a stunning looking game, right? And that's available to them this year, right? So just another thing to throw into their quiver of arrows that they're going to throw at people, right? Is, hey, we've got this game already out. We're going to have Indiana Jones to end it, and in between we've got Call of Duty Avowed, we've got Ara, Age of Mythology, etc. Right, all these games, right? And so all that stuff's coming, and here you go, right? So I think this is it's a start that hopefully will tell us what the path is going forward. It'll be very interesting what happens next year when we get the numbers for the holiday season to see how all of this impacted it, right? How did it impact sales? How did it impact the Game Pass subscriptions? How did it impact Call of Duty? Did Call of Duty increase its player base because people in Game Pass who already have it said, hey, I'll give this a try, right? We don't know. We'll see, right? Will they come out and say, hey, this is the most, played, full edition Call of Duty in the history of Call of Duty? I wonder if they'll say those words. Maybe they will. Maybe that will end up happening, right? Because I think they usually, they topped out at 30 something million, right? And what if you end up saying, hey, we had 40 million, 45 million players.
Yes.
For not the Warzone, but for Call of Duty mainline game, right? That would be insane. And they say, yep, we reached that. It's the highest selling of all time. We've increased our Game Pass subscriptions by 10, 15, 20%. That's pretty crazy. That'd be awesome, right? So we'll see if that happens. That's awesome. What I'd also love to see is people finally decide that they should come to the platform, and instead of it being a laggard in the sales for console, it starts to accelerate up, right? Because there's games. That's it. It's just that simple. When you have something that people want to play, hopefully they will come to the platform and play it. That's the promise, right? So we'll see. They've got the cheapest console available. They've got the games. They got the cheapest service available with all the games. Just put it all together. Hopefully this starts to bring in mindshare. I think that June showcase was a pivot, and people are starting to understand what the vision of Phil was. Now you see it, right? You have the Jim Ryan vision, which was games as a service. You're seeing that. You're getting Concord, you're getting Marathon, you're getting Fair Games. Those are your games. Twisted Metal got canceled. The Spider-Man multiverses got canceled. Factions 2 got canceled. Whatever else got canceled, and now those are your games. Enjoy, right?
Garbage.
Whereas the other side was Phil said, you studio, whatever you want to make, go for it, right? It's going to take you time. Fine. I'll take the hits. Go for it, right? And now you're seeing the output, and you're going to keep seeing the output. So it's going to be fun times, right?
Indeed it is. Listen, Kay, before I get to you, brother, I got to catch up on Super Chats here. RC Polygon, generous friend of the program, drops an outstanding $5 Super Chat. He says, I want to ask the panel to put their input on what happened with Dr. Disrespect. I understand if you don't want to talk about it as well. Look, here's the thing. I gathered a lot of information, and it doesn't look good for that dude. I'm going to be honest with you, but this is not an isolated incident. This dates back all the way to 2020. There's a pattern. There's a pattern here. It's a very touchy subject for me, being former law enforcement. I don't see anyone that commits a crime without having proper evidence as guilty immediately. That's not the way policing is supposed to be. You are innocent until proven guilty. The information that has been put out there is pretty damning. It's a conversation. It's funny, me and Kay were talking about this in the green room. It's a conversation that you'd have to put the kids to bed, because I have a lot to say. I'm very like flustered over it as someone who looks at children as being innocent and should not be exposed to that type of behavior. So the cursing is going to erupt. It's not a conversation that I want to particularly have this evening. I'm trying to figure out when we can have that conversation, because it's a conversation that needs to be had. But I don't want to rush to judgment. I think
it's such a touchy subject. It's like, oh my god, maybe when
Yeah,
this guy comes back, but it's like, oh god, this is just
I don't know. It's again, I am not close to it. I don't like his content. I never liked his content. I don't watch other gamers play on Twitch, so I don't really have a connection. My only connection to what happened is I am former law enforcement and I want to put the cuffs on him. But that's, just based on the information that's on social media, that's on the internet. That's not how policing goes. There's got to be evidence. When you hear that there's going to be, if I put it to this way, he's cooked if the FBI gets involved. If the FBI opens up a case and you hear about it, he's effed. I'm going to tell you that right now. He's going to go to jail.
So I think it might be past the statute.
It might be past. Again, there is a lot to go to dig into, but yeah. I appreciate you want to talk about it, brother. Again, it's just, I don't shy away from controversy, but I don't have a connection to him specifically. My only connection is I want to walk up to his house and put the cuffs on him. I know I can't do that. I'm former law enforcement, but there's evidence, right? And you got to get the evidence. It's a bad deal. It's gross. And you know what? Ultimately, Twitch.
Yeah.
Man, Twitch is looking pretty sus here, to be honest with you. This got buried, and this is a problem.
Boom, I'll quickly jump in and say, as a man who has a 7-year-old daughter,
there you go.
What he said. I'll just keep it that way. What
yes,
he said.
this is exactly
supposedly,
the conversation.
I can't confirm this. Supposedly, the person involved was 17. Just saying, but
still,
whatever.
What he said.
Still,
yeah,
legally
it's
incorrect.
But
this is why, Boom, it's a touchy subject that it's like, I don't have enough facts and I don't even want to get into it. And
we're not covering it. We're not going to cover it. It's just one of those things that would be a very
These are the reasons that I try and keep my children off the internet for as long as possible.
There you go. But listen, thank you so much for that, brother.
Not good, man.
Yeah, no, definitely not. See, there you go. This is why you're good for staying off. Coach Hooded Canuck. Coach, what's up, brother? How's everything? Thank you for being here as always. He has been a channel member, ladies and gentlemen, for a long 7 months. And he goes on to say this. Hi, Boom. Just wants to say thank you for all that you do. Well, dude, that's very kind of you to say. Thank you so much for the very kind words. He says, because of you, Boom, I've met so many cool gamers here. Thank you, Boom, from the coach. Well, Coach, thank you so much for what you do, and appreciate you being here. And I'm glad that you met friends, because we do have and again, we all run in the same circle. So my chat is very similar to Colt's chat and to Kay's chat and to the Longhouse game and the Iron Lords, and the Longhouse guys. We all kind of run in the same gambit. So it's nice that everyone goes to everyone's shows and makes friends and stuff. I love to hear that. Web Dave. Hey, Dave, what's going on, brother? Dave's a great community member, content creator. Web Dave, I love you, brother. Thank you so much for the very generous $2 super chat. And he says, Boom, Hargeet Kayasante, the mega panel. Hit the like button. Thank you, kind sir. We also have Highlander 001, who's been a channel member for a whopping 2 freaking years. Dude, that is very kind of you. Thank you so much for the support. He says Microsoft will be carrying PlayStation this year. That has to hurt Sony. I don't care if older Microsoft games go to PlayStation. I really don't. PlayStation needs help. I mean, their best-selling game last month was Sea of Thieves, and maybe that's going to be the best-selling game this month again, or at least in their top 5. If that continues,
did you see the top played games from from MPD? I'll send you the graph.
Wow, I did not see it. Oh my God, here we go. Let me go before I continue with this. Let me get into the private chat here. Let me know when you send it, Argy. So we also have so thank you so much, Highlander, for the support, brother. And yeah, PlayStation does need help. They don't have anything of their own outside of the 2 games that we know that's coming, and that's MLB as well, but that's a multi-plat.
So you
We
got the
have
link in the private chat if you want.
Here we go. Okay, so this is the MPDs. This is from Matt Piscatella. Okay, so PlayStation 5. Interesting. Here we go. Call of Duty is number 1. Fortnite, NBA 2K24, Grand Theft Auto 5 Remastered. Jesus Christmas. Roblox, Madden, Multiverse, Destiny 2, Minecraft, and X Defiant. That's that one
Now,
PlayStation game in there.
What's point? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, we got it.
I was just gonna quickly say what's interesting, super interesting about that is which one of those that you've just called out is a current gen title.
X Defiant is the only one.
Only one, and that's the bottom of the list. Besides that, the rest are all found on PS4.
Yes.
There's more fun, right? Is if you look at the PC Steam chart, right? Because that's there too. Number 2 is Helldivers.
Yes.
Not found on the top 10 for PlayStation.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's their own game.
Interesting.
But it is
but we said this, right?
So
it is one of their best-selling games, and it's not because of PlayStation gamers. Yeah.
So we have confirmation that PlayStation players aren't playing their multiplayer games. Destiny 2, which is in that list, is way at the bottom. This was after the release of Final Shape, which was the new DLC that came out that was supposed to revive, Destiny. It did not work on PlayStation. It I guess didn't work on Xbox either, but it did kind of work on PC. On PC, it is kind of up there. I think it was number 3, right? Wow. So just more things. By the way, I don't know if you want to show it to people. You can kind of show the graph to people.
Yeah,
but
now the Xbox list is also super interesting. It's almost exactly like the PlayStation
it's
one,
almost identical.
Except Rainbow Six Siege snuck in there. Like there's some interesting things going on right now, and they're all old last gen games. Play some next gen games, people. Come on now. This is why we get nothing new. What's going on here?
It's also there aren't that many out there, right? Because of that, potential for not getting all that console stuff that's out there. It's like people don't want to put it out on just this gen. It's like, why give up the 100 million consoles between the PlayStation and the Xbox? It's like
interesting stuff, no doubt about that. Listen, real quick, before we bring in Kay, Nino Vistic, who's been a channel member for 8 long months. So thank you so much for that, brother. He says, boom, aloha and mahalo for giving us the best community on YouTube. Well, dude, that is crazy nice of you to say that. I mean, listen, that's why we do it. Obviously, it's comments like that just make worth everything that we do for these shows. Thank you so much, dude. Honestly, Xbox future is bright. Appreciate everyone's insight and opinions, brother, and we appreciate you as well. He also has gifted 1 Double Barrel Gaming membership. Dude, again, thank you so much for the generosity. That is freaking awesome. So, of course, aloha to you as well. Okay, let's get you in on this. Look, there is a turning of the tides happening. And I think that in front of us, Xbox has an opportunity. You're going to be at Gamescom 2024 this year. Boots on the ground. Hopefully you get some coverage. Hopefully you get some interviews. I think Xbox has an opportunity to really put the screws to PlayStation. Nintendo is going to Nintendo. They're always going to be okay. If they have a show in October, it's going to be bombastic. Sony is done for the rest of the year. That's a fact. And they have 2 big showcases that Sony is not going to be at. They're not going to be at Gamescom. It's unlikely that they're going to be at the Tokyo Game Show because they don't usually go to that as well. Do you see an opportunity for Xbox? While I believe PlayStation is on the ropes.
So I'll take it a different method here. And I don't disagree with anything you're saying, Boom. But what I see them doing is more insulating themselves. They don't see PlayStation. PlayStation are partners where they drop their games. Nintendo are partners where they drop their games. What I see them doing here is they are literally trying to shore up you, the consumer, and your expectations of them, right? And right now they have so many irons in the fire, if you will, or cooks in the kitchen, if you will, that the question becomes, hey, where's Contraband? Hey, where's this game? Where's that game? Like, and every single new event is an opportunity to wow you, right? Historically, all these events have all been chances to regurgitate what they told you at games, what they told you at E3. Whoop, you may want to turn that down. There you go.
That was just my
slowness.
No
It's all good. You know, historically, these other shows, in my humble opinion, have been somewhat disappointing. Even the best of those shows are always a regurgitation of the original show, which is the E3 light, which is the June showcase, right?
Yeah.
Now, just by the very nature of the fact that they are one of the biggest publishers in the world and they have so much going for them, and they've staggered all of their releases to the point where they have so much something to show every time, they have the opportunity to turn all these shows into their shows, right? You've already described it. The Keeleys tends to be an Xbox show, right? Summer Game Fest, if they allow them to have all those games, it becomes an Xbox show. Or they give him nothing, and then his show becomes an indie Steam show, and then all the bangers show up on Xbox, right? On Xbox's stage. They are now dictating terms at every single show. If there's a big banger to show off, it's a banger that is coming because of Xbox, right? That's what's happening. Yeah, there are still the dribs and drabs of yesteryear that are still working themselves out. I'm looking at you there, Wukong and a few others. But by and large, moving forward, you're going to be talking about Expedition 33. And where's that? Xbox. You're going to be talking about Assassin's Creed Shadows. And where did you see the big splashy show? Xbox. That's what's happening, right? So historically, I honestly think that these are the shows, and this is not me spilling any tea. This is not me, like, as nobody took us to the corner and said, hey, look here, this is what we're going to do this year. But by the very nature of how much product they have to show, and again, whenever we talk about this, we're talking about XGS solely with Bethesda. We're not talking about the ABK arm that is itself is a massive organization. They don't just make COD, right? Bobby K made you think they only make COD. They don't just make COD. They have potentials to do other things. Blizzard has a potential to show you other things, right? So I believe that this year, TGS, I believe that this year, Gamescom, they will most likely show you some updates on what you've already seen before, right? Updates on maybe dates and times and stuff like that. But you will also get genuinely interesting things as well, right? You will, right? So much so that this is all becoming an Xbox show wherever they happen to go. And I, for one, I'm super excited for that eventuality, because I've always advocated, and this is for my brothers and sisters in the chat who may not live in these here United States, gaming is a global sport. Gaming is everywhere. Why is it that you only have fun, or you only hear the latest and greatest when they come to expensive ass LA, right? It should be every time you see them on a show, every time you see them pull out an event, it's something to sit down and watch, because something great is about to happen, right? I've used this analogy before. Netflix at some point started doing their own showcases, right? And they've done it enough now that every time you see their showcase, they're showing you everything you should expect in the next 6 months. And then the next thing you should expect in the next 6 months. They're driving you to continue to keep your subscription. They don't care that Disney Plus is over here. They don't care that Paramount Plus is over there. They don't care that any of them are around at all. They are just talking to their audience, which is the subscribers of Netflix, and making sure you never hit that unsubscribe button. And I think that's what Microsoft is doing right now. They're literally trying to get into a cadence where every time they drop, they're like, oh, you saw what happened last 6 months? Here's an update on that. Here's more of that. And here's more on that. And they have so many developers that it's just becoming undeniable at this point. But again, and I'll keep it brief, the devil will be in the details. I need them to execute. I need them to execute. Do you know what? I'll say it here first. If it comes out, if it comes the way I say, and I have no prior knowledge, if it comes the way I think it's gonna be, you heard it here first. E-Day 2015, I mean 2025, right?
Yep.
They've been working on this stuff for a long time, right? And now all of a sudden it's splashing, it's dropping. They have so much in the tank. They want to blow your wig back with surprises. You know, what do you call it? What's the Revolutions game? I call it Bioshock.
Clockwork Revolution.
Clockwork.
Yeah, dude.
Yes.
Yeah.
Also, I wouldn't be surprised if it's 2025, right? When they show you a trailer day one and that trailer looks like a completed game, you know something is up, right? They are really like gearing up for Bear. They are gearing up to surprise you. And yes, you know, they'll say they're just here to please their consumer or whatnot. You know that the whole competition with PlayStation is in the back of their minds, but they've isolated themselves. They're focused only on, okay, we got these 33 million or whatever, right? With Call of Duty comes way more millions, and now we're just going to keep hitting them with banger after banger after, and just keep them from hitting the unsubscribe button. That is their focus right now. And if you see the next shows come up and they just regurgitate the same thing, I will say it's a huge missed opportunity. Yes, show me updates on what we've seen before, but also show me what's next, right? Show me what Blizzard is working on. Show me what somebody in ABK is working on. What is the first game that has been incubated under Microsoft under ABK? Hasn't happened yet, right? Call of Duty was already in the tank. It was already working on. Nothing has changed in the ABK Microsoft relationship. Everything you've seen has been literally what they were already going to do anyway. Show me that new idea that maybe 2026, 2027 that started because Microsoft put some influence in there. There's so much opportunity there, and I want to start seeing them bring that to fruition.
I mean, it's a great point. And again, there's been a lot of people in the chat. Blue Arrow specifically is the one that said it. They haven't even reached into the ABK bag yet, which is, you know, and again, that's one of those announcements that maybe they were holding for specifically Gamescom in Europe. Mm-hmm. Hey, all of these Call of Duties, boom, here you go. All of these Activision games, boom, here they go. I mean, it's going to be very interesting to see what they bring in tow. And again, like I said, if you are keeping your ear to the floor, it's more than just Paris Lily that's talking about look towards Gamescom. Because again, we got a little bit of a smirk from Aaron Greenberg when we were hanging out, and he seemed to be a little giddy. So he knows what's happening.
Boom, I'll tell you, you went to sleep a little early a couple times.
Yeah.
It wasn't only Aaron Greenberg that gave us that smirk. I'll just leave that one there. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Yeah, we got to convince you to stay up next time, Boom. You got to stay late.
You got to stay late. Yes.
Yeah, I'm an old man. I'm sorry, folks. But listen, let me just make sure we're all caught up on Super Chats. What we're going to do is we're going to call the show. It's going to be a 90-minute show this evening, folks, because we got to the topics. If we would have had the Black Viking with us, it would have been a little bit longer. He had some back-end stuff. He'll probably be with us next week where we have Back to the Four-Man show. But this is a great show, great conversation. Over 700 people that were here live. A huge thank you to all of the generous Super Chats, as well as the channel members that continue to help support Double Barrel Gaming on the back end financially. And that does go a long way. It allows us to do the big giveaways. It allows us to pay for the shipping. I mean, this week alone, I spent over $100 in shipping, getting everyone their coins. You know, when you send the stuff out, you got to get tracking numbers. You got to spend a couple extra bucks here and there to make sure the people, there you go, the Gears coin, which is dope, dude. That is just so nice. I sent out 9 of those this week. And again, we love to do it, but it gets expensive. And when you're a mom and pop organization, any help that you can get is always greatly appreciated. So a big thank you to that. Let's get everyone out of here. We'll start first with Kay Asante. You have a big show coming up this Saturday on, of course, the Gaming Circle podcast, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Times on Saturday mornings. You and, has his knees grown back? Everborn Saga? I don't know. But listen, talk about it, sell your brand. Where can people subscribe to your incredible YouTube channel? I don't know if you did you announce to the world that you're doing the thing behind the scenes, or
I will talk a little bit about that now as well.
talk about it, brother.
Thank you guys so much for always being here, always supporting Boom and supporting us. It's always such a great pleasure to see the same faces and hear the same voices that I hear on this show as I do on my show and a few other shows. It is excellent. It's awesome. That community is just fantastic. And we have some things cooking in the background for the community. You'll hear about that stuff a little later. But for now, I will say you can catch me, K Asante, TK Asante, on all the social media platforms, also on the Xbox and the PlayStation. I won't give you my social security number, so you're gonna have to find my Nintendo handle, my Super Nintendo Switch handle, which I hope they give you actual gamer tags or some kind of name the next time, because this is getting a little ridiculous. But anyway, myself, Mr. Everborn Saga, we will welcome a new guest this weekend on GCP on Saturday mornings, a gentleman by the name of Pharaoh, who hosts the Vitamin G podcast. They've been doing it for a long time. A lot of shows. I think they're like 300 episodes in. Great bunch of fellas. A lot of PlayStation takes, a lot of Xbox takes. He reached out to me and said, "Hey, I would love to be on the show." I said, "Why the heck not?" So he's gonna join us this weekend. Of course, myself and Mr. John Wolf host the Monday show. He bought an ROG LIX, so he's going to be talking all his Ragoon talk on Monday nights. It's going to be awesome. But I will leave you by asking you to check out a new thing that we're doing, which is thegamingcircle.com. We started the little thing. We figured, hey, man, sometimes we're not able to talk about the stuff we want to talk about, opinion pieces, sometimes previews, reviews, whatever, what have you. So we started a little website. And now we're putting stuff out there, and it's not just myself and my co-hosts. There have been others that have contributed, and others that will contribute. I have a segment called On Your Radar. Maybe games that weren't on your radar before. I'll try to convince you to come check it out. I already have a couple articles up. Thegamingcircle.com. Come check us out. It's on any browser. You just type in thegamingcircle.com and you're there. So I appreciate y'all for always supporting us, and see y'all next week.
Side note, I am writing a piece for the gamingcircle.com. And that will be, I'm actually halfway through that, which, by the way, I beat that game today. Okay. Phenomenal. Still wakes the deep. Play it. Yeah. Play it. Play it. My God. Play it. Hargi Chani, let's get you on out of here, brother. We know we can't find you on social media, but you still not only are selling a book, you also have a YouTube channel that had a couple of videos explode on the scene. Talk about where people could subscribe to your YouTube channel, and more importantly, potentially buy your book that you released this year.
Yeah, so check out my book. It's called Emergence, not to be confused with E-Day, but it is a sci-fi novel. You can go to shop.shiny.us, and it'll have the links to Barnes & Noble and Amazon in your country. You can pick it up there. If you want a signed copy, you can also get a signed copy from there. So check that out. There's also merch, and I'm wearing it right now. But yeah, you can get some of the merch. If you want to subscribe to my channel, it's HargiChani1 on YouTube. So youtube.com/HargiChani1. Subscribe away. My Gears reaction video is up to like 54,000 views, which is insane.
Dude, that's freaking
insane.
Amazing.
So, I mean, my average is like 100 views, like that one, like crazy. So yeah, it's pretty cool. Check that out. I have reactions for everything, for most of the reveals during the Fan Fest. So if you want to see what those are like, they're up on my channel. Go ahead and check it out. Yeah, and then I'll be on Friday with C Money and Doodle on the night shift at 7 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time on Point 4 Gamers. So check that out.
Nice. And in closing, Mash, first of all, welcome back, brother. Nice to see you in the chat. And of course, a big thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, he has gifted 10 Double Barrel Gaming memberships. Bro, that's insane. Thank you so much for the support. A big thank you to Mash for coming back and being so generous. If you did, in fact, get a sub, either from Nino Vestek or Mash, please send them a thank you, because obviously these things aren't free and they don't have to, obviously display that kind of generosity. We appreciate it here, gentlemen. Thank you so much. And of course, a big thank you to everyone that tuned in and continue supporting Double Barrel Gaming. We had such a June so far. By the time we're done, we're gonna have eclipsed 200,000 views this month, which is that's just crazy. We're not even at 15K, and somehow or another that's thanks to you. And I'm glad that you're enjoying the content enough to watch that much of it, and of course support it, share it out on social media, hit the like button, subscribe if you're not already subscribed. But before we get out of here, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to close out the show with something that's incredibly important to me. Hopefully one day it'll be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids, and would say, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, son, I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. And we'll see you next week on the newest episode of Primetime Gaming with Mr. Boomstick and Friends.